Hi everybody, Don Giannetti from Lighting Essentials. As I said yesterday, I was going to do a video on how to get a good critique because getting a good critique is important. Getting a bad critique is a waste of time. So let's not waste any time and get right to it. A couple of things before you go out the gate to get the critique is to make sure you're asking the right person. The right people are people who are interested in you or interested in what you do. The right people are people who understand what it is that you're trying to do. The right people have some empathy towards what you're wanting to do. Without those things, a good critique may be not possible. Back in the 80s, I had the exciting pleasure of working with one of the most hard-ass art directors in the region. He'd yell, pout, scream. He was so obnoxious, he wanted you to you just wanted to put the dark slide down and just cold cock this son of a bitch right upside the head. Just totally obnoxious. And one day, it dawned on me that the reason he did all that was to get the people he was working with to do better. Maybe there was another way to do it, but his motivation wasn't that he was a jerk, but was to push you harder. And I looked back at my work and realized that as he pushed and yelled and shouted and screamed, I reacted and made shots that were better. We won a couple of awards together. I asked him to critique my book one day, and he said, bring all the images that you thought about putting in your book and the images that you love but you didn't think you should put in your book and your book. So he says, you better show up with a couple of 100 images. Okay. And I did. Almost canceled it 3 times. It was like, I had the phone in my hand. I was thinking, what the hell am I getting into? But I showed up, and he gave me a hard ass, totally awesome critique. I changed my book up, and I got more work. He put shots in my book that I never would have put in. He took shots out of my book that I thought were, keepers. And he showed that all the while I had been showing work that I thought people wanted to see, I had been repressing the work that I did best. And when he was done with my book, there were 40 images in there that I was so proud of the book, I couldn't tell you. Had to reprint a bunch of images. They were, work prints and things like that. They weren't solid prints. This was before digital. So cost me a bleeding fortune to have them printed in New York and laminated. But So how do you get a good critique? Well, first of all, asking somebody to take a look at your Flickr site and give you a critique might really be an inconvenience if you've got 2,400 pictures on Flickr. And if it's a bunch of disconnected images, a picture of a butterfly, a picture of a person with a Olin Mills kind of background to it, and I see that way too often. A pure snapshot, give me a critique. No. You got to narrow it down. A critique on everything couldn't even possibly begin to do that. No one could. No one could. So here's the first thing you do. Is you get in touch with somebody that you want a critique from, that you think would be important to get a critique from. And you put together 20 or 30 images, or maybe a single portion of your portfolio online. Like if you have an online website and you have the 3 buttons of what you do. You do only have 3, right? Right? You don't have like 9, right? Like people and places, things, buses, cars, motorcycles, boats, aerials, maternity, wedding, portrait. No, that you should just put up at the top, God, I'm desperate. And just have like one button, God, I'm desperate. You do 3 things. So choose 3 things, or choose just portfolio, which is 30 or 40 pictures. That's in your portfolio, which is an amalgamation of the other 3. You know, it's the best of the other 3 that you have, the 3 that you have. Put them in a set somewhere, maybe Flickr, 500 pics, Google Plus, Facebook, your website. I don't know. Put them so they're a set that the photographer or the person critiquing your work can see all of them at one time. Tell the person who you want a critique from what you're seeking. As my work modern enough? Or I'm a Midwestern architectural photographer trying to build a business with small and medium architects. How is this work? Do I have enough variation? How can I make my photographs better? What kind of presentation will help? That's good information going in, because then the person giving the critique has some parameters, a box around what that information is supposed to be for. Number them. Put them in order. How are you showing them currently? It's important. Flow is important in a portfolio. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish with each image. Short little blurb. Oh yeah, there's some work involved in getting a good critique. I hope that doesn't shock you or make you think, oh God, I don't want to do all that. Yeah, that's fine. Don't bother. It's good. Share your photographic business mission statement with me. What's the goal of your business? Briefly tell me what you are level-wise. Are you starting out? Are you already in business? Are you a professional who's looking to change directions? And lastly, and this is my thing, agree with me that you're going to take my opinion as only one opinion. I'm not photo god. I'm not the hailer of divinity from on high to come down and tell you what to put in your book. I can give you advice based on my little bag. We talked yesterday about we all carry around this little bag of crap. I got my little bag of crap too. So I'm going to be filtering your pictures, through my little bag of crap because I'm me. I can't do it any other way. I can't filter it through somebody else's. And someone says, give me an objective portfolio review. All I can say is, you gotta be kidding. There's no objective. Everything is subjective. Everything. If you want a good critique, you got to work for it. You got to ask. And you have to be prepared to give the critiquer some important background information on the images. That's it. That's it. I would say before you make any decisions based on any one critique or 2 critiques, that you get as many as 8 or 10 critiques. Find out where things overflow or where they overwrite. If there's one image in your book that everybody likes, well, that's pretty cool. That might mean something. There's one image in your book that nobody likes. That's some good advice. However, I would tell you, if you absolutely believe in that image and you absolutely know that image is going to work for you, you weigh that as well. It's your work. Advice is important, but it's your work. You got to own it. I know I said this was going to be number 2 of a 3-parter, but guess what? There's one more part coming. And that's how to give a good critique if you're asked. And on that note, which I think was a C sharp, maybe a D, I will end this conversation and see you tomorrow.